So I am in San Francisco, California, and I'm at the GDC conference, also known as the Game Developer Conference. This is not a conference that the average academic person would come to. It's typically people that are involved in teaching the design classes or anything related to gaming, whether it's the audio, the art, the design. So that's typical of faculty. Now, the main reason I came to this conference was to kind of see if the game design process can inspire or influence my instructional design processes. The secondary reason for coming, of course, is how can we implement games into higher education to make things more interesting. What I want to do in this video, I came the first 2 days. The first 2 days they tend to run workshops. And there's various workshops, but I went ahead and took the 2-day intense game design workshop. This workshop was entirely hands-on. There was very, very little lecture. So it was really getting your hands dirty in the design process. They gave us some pretty good, or interesting, I should say interesting, activities for game design. So the first day we spent, and it was a card game with dice, and the game was called Sissy Fight 3000. So it was just a card game where we were simulating young children on the kindergarten playground. After we played the game and got familiar with the game, then our job was to modify the game to make it more interesting or to add our own flavor or touch to it. So I worked with a team of, I guess there were 6 of us, and we worked the whole afternoon adding components or taking components away from the game. It was actually really hard to do because the game was pretty solid the way it was. So the first thing we implemented broke the game. You know, we just failed and failed fast. So that, you know, that's kind of humbling, and you go back to the drawing board. Now keep in mind, I'm higher education, so I'm coming from the academic side, but the people I was working with all come from game companies, game design, most of them. So for us to actually implement something, and I'm working with game designers, and we fail, that tells you game design's not easy. So the second day of the workshop, we had to take it's called paper simulation of a video game. So we had to take a video game and then do a paper simulation of the game. This was not easy either, because as soon as you take a video game and you strip away the visuals, the audio, you know, all the sound effects, all the music, and you take away all the artwork, that really minimizes what you have left. You know, you have the game mechanics left. So I like that we picked out 8 games. Out of the 8 games they picked, I had only, well, the one I knew about, I'd logged in, looked at it, that was sent. The second one was Minecraft, which I had a little bit more exposure to. I kind of played around with it with maker spaces, you know, using Minecraft as an area to build and be creative. And then watching my 7-year-old play Minecraft on the iPad. So I hopped into the Minecraft group, and it was really hard because we had to pick an emotion that we wanted the players playing the game to experience while playing the game. So the whole design of the card/dice game had to give that notion of surprise, because we felt like in Minecraft there's a lot of surprises, whether it's coming upon a world that somebody built, or if it was the creatures, the creepers, some of the other creatures that would come out and just kill you. So we had to implement that element of surprise into our simple paper-based game and still have the feel of Minecraft. Once again, we didn't really succeed. I think we failed. What we had was okay, and it met the requirements of the assignment, but we could have done a much better job. Now, to be fair, when we're doing these designs, we do them within 2 or 3 hours. So there's probably very few games that are designed in 2 or 3 hours. Most of them it might be 2 or 3 years. So it is just a quick exercise, but it really gets you, doing that teamwork and going through the design process, thinking about game mechanics, thinking about emotions. The first day we also played around with fiction, so in layman's term, a theme to the game, and then really expressing, because once again, when you have cards and dice, how do you express a theme or a fiction to that game? And by the way, the first day we picked food trucks, so we had to simulate a card game based on food trucks, and it was easy. It was hard. I think the easier route would have been if we would have played around with, we're giving star ratings to the food trucks, but instead we were trying to kind of battle food trucks against each other. So just a different way to kind of think about things. So, by the way, I'm sitting by a playground, so that's why you hear children playing. It's beautiful. It's a little park right here across the street from the conference center. I guess actually on the same side of the street of the south end of the conference center. So it's beautiful out today. So what I want to share in this video is kind of my takeaways for the first 2 days of that game design workshop. So the big difference that I see between game design and what I do as an instructional designer is you're really thinking about the player. You think about the player's emotions, you think about how they experience the game, what you want them to get out of the game. We do that somewhat in instructional design, but I feel like with instructional design, it's so much focused on objectives and like the actual academic goal. What skill do we want them to learn? What information do we want them to remember? Maybe information we want to apply. But we never really think about what emotion do we want students to walk away with or to experience when they're going through our learning activities. So that gives me a completely different lens when planning. The same thing with the fiction or theme. A lot of times our content has a theme, right? That's, the theme of the class is the content. But how could we pull in other themes in a game-like manner that would make learning the content either more engaging, more in-depth based on the content, or just more fun? Number 2, the other thing, okay, so the fiction or the theme, playing around with that. Okay, I already mentioned that. Okay, so another component that we do in the academic world, but we don't do to the extreme that we do in game design. So, play testing. How many times do we play test what we instructionally design for students? Now, we do make changes from course to course to course. And what I mean by course to course to course is, we try it one semester and then we tweak it for the next semester, or maybe completely throw it out and start over. But with game design, like I said, I felt like we failed on both game design activities. We met the requirements, we did what we were supposed to do, but we didn't exceed and do really, really well. So the saying with game design is fail and fail fast. The faster you fail, the quicker you're going to get to your end goal. We don't do that with instructional design. And kind of the nature of it, or at least the way I'm used to working in game design or instructional design, doesn't really allow the opportunity to fail and fail fast. I am going to rethink about that because I'm doing another CIS 105 course, and I'm going to try to look at how can I structure it so that I try an activity or a model 1 week and I can figure out real quick, did I fail? Was it successful? And then automatically the next week tweak it and put it in place. So instructional design and working with faculty or even faculty themselves, how can we make it okay to fail and fail fast? It's better to know you're failing the first day, second or third day of class than it is to wait till the end of the semester, get the student evaluations and realize you failed the students. So we need a better process of failing and it being okay to fail. I know as a faculty member teaching students, those students have sacrificed a lot to be in that course. I don't want to fail them. So how can I fail without impacting without impacting them. Sounds like there's a group of students coming in. Yeah, they must be heading to the bowling or the ice skating rink. The next thing is iterations, and I know the speaker Jamie Cassip that we had come in from Google talked about iterations and how Google, there's a new iteration every 2 weeks, like it's just constantly changing. And with instructional design, once again, it's kind of the same thing with our classes, especially I know we have some faculty, you know, the iteration they're using is the iteration they were on 20 years ago. So how can we make it easier for iterations? I think some faculty do this well and it's not really a problem, but it's not really something that's communicated and expected of faculty or encouraged. So finding ways to make it easier for iterations and just explaining that as an instructional design process when it comes to designing their learning activities for the classroom. And I had last was fail fast. So the one thing I've taken away from this two-day design workshop is fail fast. You know, don't overthink it. That's the other thing too. When they say fail fast, it's take one idea, implement it, fail so you can change it. Don't take 2-3 weeks to plan something before you try it. Just as soon as you have something, and you don't have to have the whole thing. I know with courses, we try to develop a whole course. We want the whole course perfect and we want it to run smoothly. So we might spend all summer designing a whole entire course only to get in there and realize what we did in the first week is not going to work for the whole course. So start trying ideas. As soon as I have an idea, try an activity where I can see if it's going to work so I can fail fast before designing a whole entire course. Okay, so the rest of the week is the actual game conference and the main event where all the big name speakers are coming in. It's actually interesting because I have no idea who the big name speakers are. I don't, you know, I'm aware of the gaming world and I try to keep touch with the gaming world, but I don't really know who the big name speakers are. I did go to a session this morning that went over video game data, so I'll share that later. That was really interesting. And it makes you, it still brings me back to, we need to pay attention to the gaming world as academics and implement some of the stuff that's working, because there's a huge interest. Mobile devices are becoming more and more popular. So we need to pay attention to the field and just implement their best successes. All right, so I will be giving you a video later on the actual 3-day conference component. Kind of excited tonight. They do the Indie Game Awards. So these are new people, kind of smaller games. So I'm interested in seeing what that is. Signing off. I was going to say, please tell me that colors.